Okay, so your second project is going to be a monochromatic painting. And I've given, quite a few examples here. This is a student painting from about 5 semesters ago. Um, their project was a little different, but her, whole painting is a painting of a lion, and it's in one color, which means monochromatic. They were doing washes, so very thin acrylic, and had them add no white. So there's no white in this image that you're looking at. It appears to have white, but she wiped away the color to go back to the gesso to get the highlights. And then she added more paint where she wanted it to be darker, like at the bottom down here. And then at the top right here. Now, when she painted this side, what she did is while it was wet, she tipped the board sideways and let the drips run from the paint off to this side. And then when she did the other side, she had the paint wet, added a little water and let it drip going this way. That's how she got that fanned look. Okay, so here's a chart for you guys to kind of springboard from. The one thing that is missing is the tones. It doesn't have the gray addition to these colors. So you're missing the, here you have the red. U means color, okay? I have it up here so you can remember. U means color. Here's your red. When you add white to it, depending on how much white, you can get this many variations, okay, or more. And the same with black. It equals shades. You get this many variations. There's also different colors of red, different colors of green, different colors of blue, which will give you variations as well. So the one thing that is missing on this chart is the addition of grays. So imagine having this many values of red to work with, plus the pure white and black, and the grays that you could add to this color. When you add white to a color, no matter what color it is, don't have any black in it. Okay, so wash your brush clean when you start doing the shades and the tones. Don't have any black or grays in your tints. So you can refer back to this chart if you want to, kind of get an idea of what color you want to choose for your particular painting. Remember, if you choose an icon that has a lot of green, don't do it in green, pick a different color, okay? And it can be a secondary color, a tertiary color, meaning, the colors in between. If you know what analogous means, they're colors next to each other on the color wheel. So here you have red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, etc. And then yellow. And then the green jumps from here to here, and you'll see there's two different kinds of greens, so they got slightly different tints. So if your color changes, your scale is also going to change. Okay, both of these are in blue with the addition of black and white. Okay, however, the one on the right is painted on silver leaf, so it gives a whole different feeling. I'm not asking you guys to do silver leaf, but I'm showing you what's possible using just one color when you start adding different mixed media effects to it. The one on the left is the basic black and white with blue. The blue is in the background, but she's done kind of like a halo effect around the edge, describing the child's face in different values, as if she's moved suddenly, or there's, like a reflection on a window or something that's behind her. It's a very loose kind of painting. I know some of you that are just starting out are going for the tighter look, but this type of brush stroke over something that's very detailed. She left the detail down here and then just brush stroke this wet. So there's an emotion and a feeling that comes across with the work, as well as a representation of a small child. This one over here is almost ethereal, and that ethereal look is because of the silver. Anytime you paint on gold leaf, silver leaf, reflective aluminums, that kind of thing, they're very hard to photograph. So they're even better in person than they are online or when you take pictures of them, and they're hard to photograph. Okay, here we have orange with black and white. The background is a metal surface, so don't count the background as a color. She painted on a metal surface, vinyl record, and then attached it to a metal surface. The composition is repeating circles. She's got the tiny circle and then almost the third eye region right here, which is the record. And then it has like a label she's painted over. And then she's done the black and white over the area that goes around that. And then the vinyl part is painted in orange with black and white. So it's a real record mounted on a piece of metal. But I thought it was a good example of a different way to use monochromatic. It's not your standard. I'm going to show you some standards. This one right here is an interesting one. If you choose yellow to be your color of choice with the addition of black and white, it'll turn green. So if you look at this painting, you're going to see greens that run through it, and you're thinking, this isn't monochromatic, it's not all yellow. Yes, it is. When you add black to yellow, you get a green. It's kind of a yucky green. It's not necessarily a, very pretty green, depending on the yellow you use. The only yellow I had you guys get was the Indian yellow, and you'll have to add white to it first to make that cadmium opaque color before adding the black. Because if you add the black to the transparent yellow, it's going to wash out and be really ugly. So you definitely want to add your white to the Indian yellow first before you add black to it, or grays. Grays the same way. This is a very impressionistic loose painting style. It gives the impression of a doorway in a building that's fallen down or just gone through an earthquake, and very high energy, painted very quickly. Okay, this is student work. This is, what's possible when you use different values and trying to get different effects using just one color. It was for my intermediate students, and they were to do the positive of the portrait and the negative of the portrait. This is the negative of the portrait. So using blue and black and white, she was able to capture the negative of the child. What's interesting is if you put this into like PhotoFox or a computer program and you reverse it to be a negative, it'll all come out in skin tones. It will be completely skin tone. So it was a lesson about values and skin tones and reversing, painting in the negative, which I got a lot of flack from a Black student of mine from several semesters ago, until I showed him some work that was done by an artist who painted African American girls and painted their faces white. He said I was having my students do blackface, and I said, no, I'm doing negative. And it took me a while to get him to understand what we were doing, and then he got it. Then he wasn't mad anymore. So it was an interesting project. It had a lot of connotations to it. This is your traditional still life setup using green, black, and white. If your image is metal or glass, remember that it has geometrical shapes inside the form, that it's going to be distortions of lighting and forms that are in the room around it when the person took the photograph. I don't think many of your iconic forms are going to be metal or glass. They're going to be stone or, ceramic or something that's more solid form. But still look for those geometrical reflections that happen in the form just in case. But the metals and the glass have extreme geometrical shapes. And by that, I mean, if you look over here, this would be one shape. This is another shape. Here is another shape, and they're all different values. And if you start describing those values in those shapes, pretty soon you've got this reflective looking object. If you were to paint it just flat and blend it all in together, it wouldn't look reflective. Like this one right here, it has a shiny part to it, but it doesn't have the reflective quality that this one has. They're two different types of painting. We've got a pink phone here. It's red with white tints and a little of it's neutral. I mean, I hemmed and hawed about adding this one in here. This color that you see that goes around right here, they've added just a little bit of brown, or they've added a little bit of green to get that color that's going around right here. And then they've added black for the shades and the cord that goes between. Yes, these are old phones, dialing. I kind of miss them. They're cool. This one's painted very loosely. It's okay for you to paint your icon in this manner. It doesn't have to be tight. Notice that the edges are not, super outlined, and there's brush strokes that kind of lead off, kind of like an implied line when you're doing a drawing. Also, the drips that come down at the bottom, if something like that happens, it's okay to leave it. I know it's hard the first couple times you do it, but I find that some students really enjoy the freedom of watching what the paint does and adds to that visual dialogue. Here's another traditional setup in reds with tints, shades, and tones. So they've added the grays, the whites, and the blacks. And you can see all the different values that they were able to get in order to achieve this three-dimensional look, even the folds in the fabric. Being acrylic, you can, like I said in the first slide, wash it down first and get this very light value going. You can start with the light values and then build up to the darker ones, leaving the lighter ones to be the highlight in your painting if you'd like, or wipe away. Just put the paint down and wipe away your highlights. That's another way to do it. I like to wipe away or sand away. If you come back the next day and it's dry and it won't lift off anymore, you can take some fine sandpaper and sand back to the white and then add the value you want in that area. Not to go darker, but to be the right value, not necessarily white. Okay, this painting is done with a Prussian blue. You can see the difference between the blue I had you guys get and the color that's coming out with this cow, longhorned cow. It's darker than the one I had you buy, and it's really a very beautiful color. It gives a great illusion of light, shadow, and form because it's extreme with the background being dark and the highlights being on the head of the animal. The grass area, or the area where he's eating, you can see they kind of washed it out with water. When you water down acrylics, it can give a watercolor effect, and that's what they've done at the bottom. Don't get carried away with that because it's about the paint. But this artist has handled it really well. It makes light sense, and that's something you guys need to study on your birds and on your icons is where's the light coming from? How does it affect it? Where to make it light and where to make it dark. Okay, the small paintings on the left are just advanced brush strokes in monochromatic color that appear to be floating in space. So it's the same color with the tints, tones, and shades, and they've put it into a brush stroke and moved it around, swirled it. They're really too small to see, but it gives you an idea of what you can do monochromatically in an abstract form. And then I added the orange on the right. It's almost abstract. If they hadn't left the center of the orange or the peel at the corner, this upper right-hand corner right here, it wouldn't have had, we wouldn't know exactly what it was, but we know because it's orange, and we know because they left those pieces in there. Nature is a great source for abstract art, and your next project will be abstract, so you might want to start looking in advance for abstract forms in nature. Now, except for the blue-violet in the collar area, this one is kind of unusual approach. She did a person. See the blue violet right in through here? If it wasn't the blue violet, it would be totally monochromatic. I think it's very interesting the way she repeated circles. She has the circles underneath, painted the figure in the black and gray scale, and then did the blue over the top of that, leaving out this, of course, and then adding the patterns and doing the color in between here. I think there's a little bit of that going on down here too, but I added it just because it was so different than the other ones, and I thought you guys might like looking at it. And this is the last one I'm going to show you. An advanced student did the monochromatic with a twist. She had taken several classes of mine, and she liked the idea of just using mixing the black and using one color. She wanted to do it again and come up with her own composition. So here you have burnt umber and ultramarine blue to make the black. She did a drip effect in the background with the burnt umber. I do believe this is an oil painting. It's not an acrylic painting, and that's why she's getting those like almost spider effects. You can see the like spider veins happening right here. You can't get that in acrylic. You'll get drips, but you won't get this spidering effect. She did the figure with black and white and gray, so the figure is all black and white, just like you guys finished. Then she did the heart with the blue, and then she made the black using the blue and the burnt umber to do the outlines and the hair and make the grays. It shows how much you can achieve using only these colors. And this is just for educational purposes. It's not your assignment. So when somebody says, you know, you've only got 2 or 3 colors to work with, you really have a bigger, broader, you know, spectrum than you think you have. When you add tints, tones, shades, and you use the